Hello, everybody. Welcome back to a new episode of Safari Mack, where I'm your guide and your host, helping you make connections to the wild. If you are joining me from last week's episode, which was part 2 of the African lion, we are saying goodbye to the continent of Africa, for now, and we are beginning our journey to South America. Hola! But now, hold on a minute. I thought I'd like to give you a big surprise. So, after thinking it over, I decided that instead of just going straight to South America, like how we went from Asia straight to Africa, I decided that we should take a little bit of a more scenic route and uncover some other animals. So, with that said, I'd like to introduce you to some of the world's most beloved animals of the sea. Dolphins! Yes, these creatures have been around for well over thousands of years, and throughout human history, they've evoked a kind of merriment, wonder, and beauty and a playfulness even, that we, the human race, just can't seem to get enough of. But if we're ready to uncover some secrets and learn about how they survive out in the ocean, let's begin. We start with the family and their evolution. So, dolphins belong to a family group called cetaceans, which includes whales and porpoises. But there are many different kinds. There are the baleen whales, like the humpback and the blue whale, and then there's even the toothed whales, which includes the sperm whale. But now dolphins there are said to be around 49 different species, which includes the famous bottlenose dolphin, the spinner dolphin, even the largest member of the dolphin family, the killer whale, or what we sometimes call orcas. But now, believe it or not, their ancestors started life on the land. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. How did they go from land-dwelling creatures to become the animals that we know today? Well, because it's a pretty big topic, I decided that I would skip that and include it in a different video that you'll see later this week. So, be sure to stay tuned for cetacean evolution. Now, let's continue the ocean life. Dolphins tend to inhabit all of the world's oceans. Well, almost. Let me explain. Now, the orca is known to inhabit all the different world's oceans. So from the north to the South Pole, as well as the Atlantic, Pacific, and Indian Ocean, they're found pretty much worldwide. The rest of the dolphins that we know and love tend to usually hang out in the Atlantic, Pacific, and Indian Ocean. So they'll never be found in the Arctic Ocean or even the Southern Ocean. Just way too cold. But let's continue. Now, dolphins tend to they can also inhabit gulfs, channels, some inland seas, and other forms of water where they're able to get back out to the salt water. Now, typically, a basic element of dolphins is that these are a highly social animal. They need others, not only for being able to catch food, but for just keeping together as well as for protection. Now, usually pods, that's what you call a group of dolphins, they usually are a fortress. It's usually a family group. So these includes mom, grandmother, aunt, niece, cousin, even brothers and sisters. But the one thing that usually a single pod will never have is, for the calves, they'll never have their father living with them because they don't breed in the same pod. The only time whenever they mate or breed is when one pod meets another pod. So if the father is with the father being from another pod, if they come into contact, then he would meet his children, or maybe get with other females to breed. But now, while most have concluded that dolphins usually, sons and daughters, they'll stay with their family pod all their lives, new studies show that sometimes male dolphins will actually leave their family groups and form bachelor groups, which usually tend to be a lot smaller and almost have absolutely no calves present. It usually just makes sense because these are just a bunch of males that are living together, they are hunting together, breeding with different females together, they're even having fun together. But now, in terms of breeding, dolphin species vary. Some give birth once every year, some give birth once every 6 years. The common bottlenose dolphin usually gives birth once every 2 to 3 years. Usually only has one calf, twins almost never exist. She tends to live with her. She nurses her child and teaches her child exactly what it means to cooperate and work as a team with the family group. Speaking of family group and working as a team, let's see how they do that in terms of hunting and foraging. So dolphins have different ways of catching fish, which I'll explain. Those that are living out in the deep ocean, usually what they do is working together, they surround a school of fish and make them into a tighter ball until they're tight enough to where they just swim through and grab whatever they can get. Now, but that's not usually the same for every dolphin. Those that live in the channels or near muddy areas and sandy areas, what some have seen is that one dolphin will, using its tail, or what we call the fluke, will kick up dirt and sand to create a kind of ring around a school of fish, and as they get tighter and tighter, the fish panic and try and jump out of the ring to save themselves. Usually it works, but for a certain percentage of them, it's too late. Because usually the other members of the pod lie in wait, catching whatever falls right into their mouths. But now there's one more thing. Sometimes they've even been known to beach themselves to catch their prey. They drive them up the shore and catch them. But don't worry, usually these dolphins time exactly when to drive up to the shore, and that way with the waves they can try and get themselves back out so they don't risk stranding themselves. But now it's not just fish that they eat. Dolphins have also been known to eat squid, which is a really good source of water for them. Usually, you know how they say you can eat food that can count for your water intake? Squid usually counts for that. While they've also been known to eat crustaceans, they've even been known to eat octopus. Doesn't sound like a bad idea. But let's continue. How have they impacted human culture? Well, for thousands of years, especially civilizations that live near the sea, like those in the Mediterranean, so I'm talking Rome, Greece, and all the others, dolphins have been featured in many different forms of art. Here we have an early Grecian painting of dolphins, but they've even been immortalized in the stars. In Greek mythology, this mighty sea god Poseidon had a servant named Delphinus, who was the king of dolphins. He sent him out on a special mission to find the beautiful sea nymph Amphitrite and convince her to become his wife. And in the end, it worked, probably because of his charming personality. But now, in more Western-related media, one dolphin has gained much attention. His name was Flipper. Yes, the dolphin Flipper who was faster than lightning. He was considered to be, in a way, the aquatic version of Lassie. But believe it or not, in South America, they have an even bigger role. Fishermen in Brazil have relied on dolphins in helping them catch their prey for thousands of years. This is how it goes. Usually the fishermen get up early in the morning, they have their nets ready, they put it out. The dolphins seem to know when they're there, and they help them by driving a school of fish to where they are, where then the men quickly act and catch their fish. But it's not over then. Then those that do not get captured by the net, or sometimes the fishermen will actually throw some of their catch back out into the water for the dolphins to have. It's their way of saying thank you. It really is a beautiful form of cooperation and coexistence at its best. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm afraid that's all the time I have for this episode, but now I want to hear from all of you. Please write down in the comment section below, what is it that you love about dolphins? It can be whatever you want. Are they playful? Do you just have an encounter with them? I really want to hear from all of you. But until next week with part 2, as well as later on this coming week for Cetacean Evolution, be sure to hit the like and subscribe button, send me an email if you have questions, and check out my Facebook for more animal-related content. But until then, this is Safari Mack, and I'll see you out there in the open ocean.